Namaskara, Guru.
Namaskara.
Bro, before I start with anything, I just demand you right now. Shake my hand. Shake it right now. You no, you don't want to shake it?
I need my century. No, 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 no.
What a disgrace.
Yep.
What a disgrace you are to the sport, to Test cricket, to my 6 p.m. tea time here in Manchester. What a disgrace you are to my 8 p.m. beer that I wanted. Unbelievable. How dare you? And on
Uh,
that note, we welcome you to another wonderful episode, a proud episode, really, of the Number India, Number RCB podcast. This is the fourth test post match and fifth test preview, a combined episode into one. And bro, let's get right to it. What are your thoughts on that courageous draw that we achieved?
yep. So exactly as you described, courageous. I mean, just true resiliency, guts, determination, just old school digging in, especially obviously the second innings, the 0 for 2 start, but then, Gill and Kale were able to come in, stabilize that. Kale 90, Gill with another century, just continues to be a run machine in this series. And then to finish it off, despite a couple of drop catches, which maybe could have changed things, but sometimes you need a little bit of luck. Jadeja 100, and then Washington Sundar first Test century, which was a great moment for him. And he was saying how he did it for his family and all that. It was a big moment for him, understandably so. And so those four just digging in, creating a draw out of what seemed like nowhere and what was looking to be at day two, middle of day three, like, oh, geez, this is over. Like the fifth test is not going to mean anything. They're going to get the trophy back, but those four just said no. We live to see another test. We still have another chance. The series is still alive at the Oval on Thursday. So unbelievable gutsy performance. One of the more memorable test victories in recent memory, and we're on to Thursday.
It feels like a victory. I know you meant to say draw. It feels like a victory.
Yeah, more like yeah. It
It
definitely
really
felt like yeah.
it does feel like a victory. Couple thoughts I had were, in modern day when it's the T20 era and T20 is only going one way up. I can't remember the last time like we really dug in like this. It had to be, I guess, the Border Gavaskar Trophy when Ashwin and was it Bunt or Sundar that batted out the draw?
I think it
No,
was
no, no. Sorry, Hanuma Vihari
oh the
was the
high. Oh yeah,
yeah,
wow,
yeah, yeah.
that's a
So
name.
that was, 3, 4 years ago now that we really stuck it out like that. And you don't see that often where the repertoire of shots is expanded and old-fashioned digging in, like you said, is pretty rare. I mean, to bat 5 sessions is no small feat. And it looked like we could have batted 6 or 7 sessions if needed, which is really, really remarkable. Keeps the series alive, keeps the mouth-watering fifth test alive. So let me quickly summarize what happened in the four tests, and then we'll get straight to the juice, bro. Because I know you want to talk about it, so do I. England win the toss. They put us into bat, and I could see why they put us into bat because the conditions were probably the best for bowling throughout this series in the first day and half of day two. So I thought low key was a pretty great effort to get to 358 in the first inning because then the conditions really flattened out, very much like a Old Trafford vintage third day, fourth day wicket, or late second day, third day wicket, and they just piled the runs on, man. I mean, they really took the wind out of our sails to the point where they wore Bumrah down, his speeds were dropping, and I never thought I'd see the day, but they wore Siraj down. That's the first time I've seen him flat, like ever, maybe. I mean, 670 they amassed. I know that they wanted to try to only bat one time, and so that left us 5 sessions to bat for a draw. And boy, did we bat them because after the first two wickets fell, to score the next 425 runs for just a loss of two wickets is really, really unbelievable. Credit to those four, like you said. Um, it was an exhilarating draw, despite normally, like, 20, 25 years ago, these tests were considered boring. But with the context of nowadays, there's a result in almost every test. These types of results are like a little bit of nostalgia and they get me fired up, especially that the series is still alive. Speaking of getting fired up, the last hour, Stokes comes, he tries to shake our hand. We mocked it in the beginning of the show. I don't know if it was Shubman Gill. I don't know if it was Jadeja and Sundar's decision. They all basically said, no, I'm not going to shake your hand. I want to bat on. And Stokes throws a classic hissy fit, just like he does, seems like every few months. Tell me your bird's eye view of the whole thing, and um, feel free to be as firm as you want.
Will do. So yeah, firstly, going back to what you were saying about that rare old school type of draw, nostalgia test. It was I was hearing somewhere someone, I think it was Nasser, was saying it said in the baseball era, this was only the second time that they had drawn a test match. It was at this same venue in Manchester, but the other one it was mostly because of rain, whereas this one nothing was affected by rain. This was a true draw, so it was a true
Wow.
rarity in that case. In this sort of mini era of basketball, aggressive, whatever stuff cricket you want to say. But yeah, in terms of that, it was just a it was a crazy situation. I mean, obviously, biasly and unbiasedly speaking, Ben Stokes, Harry Brook, Jofra Archer, all of them, they were in the wrong. I mean, Jadeja and Sundar, one was in the 90s, I believe, one was in the 80s. They were close to getting their hundreds. If they were in that situation, England, they would also try to get their hundreds as well. And it just seems like anything that doesn't go their way, all of them, but Stokes included, obviously being the captain, they all cry about it and act like you're like not entitled to show resistance in any way. And it just doesn't make any sense. And I'm glad, Jadeja, Sundar, Gill, all of them stood their ground, didn't declare. In my opinion, I was just to be petty. I was like, maybe they should just bat out the last 12 overs, tire out their bowlers a little bit more, short
Hey,
rest.
yeah.
I was thinking about it, but they decided they wanted the centuries, and it was a little bit comical watching Harry Brook try to bowl. That was certainly one of the bowling spells in history. And I mean, it was just it was a clown show by the end, but it was just a great way to, in a way, reward hard work for what those two, and then obviously what Gill and Punt had done in the beginning to manage a draw and bat for basically 2 days where England was out in the
Yeah.
field. So it was just a wild situation, and as usual, England were wrong. That's my big takeaway.
As usual, I like that. So, dude, let's break it down. First of all, anytime late in the fifth day when the overwhelmingly likely result is a draw, any captain, batting or fielding captain, is well within their right to go to the other captain and say, "Hey, do you want to call this off?" That's what Stokes did. I have no problem with that. Him going up to Jadeja, Sundar, and he made a show of it. I have a problem with that. Sticking out his hand, cameras can see. Classic Stokes. Everybody's got to see what I'm doing. Very vain cricketer, I think. But he made a show of it, but he's allowed to ask, like, hey, do you want to call this off? Just like he's allowed to ask the opposing captain, the opposing players, batters out there are well within their right to say yes or no. And in this case, the opposing players said no. Once that happens, Stokes has to zip it. The rest of the team has to zip it, go back to their marks, bowl and field. That is the rules of the game. And if you don't abide by that, and if you abide by your own moral code of, well, the result is decided, so these hundreds don't matter, that is very subjective. That is literally why there's a rule book in play and written by, ironically, their own country in the MCC that says, hey, two captains have to agree on a draw. If one captain doesn't agree on a draw, it's the fifth day. You got to bowl out the overs. So I don't understand where the hissy fit came from. Obviously, they were tired. They were frustrated they didn't get the result that they want. But it's no justification to act the way that they did. Let me take it a step further. Zach Crawley was another person that was talking that you didn't mention. He's talking to Jadeja. Why is he talking to Jadeja? Zach Crawley is a nobody in Test cricket. He averages like 30, 31. Jardu is a veteran and a true he's played 85 tests, man. Jadeja is like an
He's been
established
around.
test player. Like you imagine if Karun Nair talked to Ben Stokes and talk smack to him in the same situation. Everybody would be like, who is he to say anything to him? So Zach Crawley talking really irked me. And then I don't know if you saw Ben Duckett. Ben Duckett was basically saying
Yep.
that, you know, if you can get your 100, Jadeja, but I'm not gonna wait around another hour for Sundar to get his 100. Bro, there's an hour left in the day. If
Yes.
that's what it takes for Sundar to get his 100, you got to stay there and wait till he gets his 100, or you got to get him out. Which brings me to my most irritation that I felt in a long time. What you said, Harry Brook, that was certainly a spell for the ages. Bro, that was like when you were 8 years old and you didn't like the result of the Madden game and you were like, I'm going to turn the system off. Or I'm going to sit down and I'm going to run up the middle every play and I'm going to throw interceptions on purpose because I'm so mad and I'm pouting in an act of defiance that I didn't get what I want. It's such a petulant reaction to bowl 37-mile-an-hour balls so that the other team can get to 100, the other batsman can get to 100. And then when that happens, for Brook to go and like shake the into the camera as a mocking gesture of, oh, okay, you got your 100. Now can we walk off? It's so like it's a farce, bro. It's so beyond the standards of international cricket. It's literally like how we play like in the gully in India or in the cricket league here. Like it's bush league stuff to act like that in the international arena. And they were absolutely unequivocally 100% wrong. I won't hear any other opinion otherwise, and they deserve the criticism they were getting. I think that's really the main story from the Ford test. That received all the headlines. So I'm okay putting that test to bed because it really sets up a mouth-watering fifth test. Is there anything else you want to add?
Yep. You know, I think you summed it up very well. I mean, there's a reason that, the clips of, I believe it was Brad Haddon and I saw Nathan Lyon, the Australians coming to our defense, where maybe they dislike England more relative to India, but it's still two big rivals for them. And it wasn't an accident that they were both on the side of India and the side of common sense, where, if you were so mad that you couldn't get them out and powdered at the end, you could have gotten them out. And like I said, in Jadeja's case, two drop catches could have changed the match, especially
Exactly.
the one with, I believe it was Root in the slips, caught up high, juggled it, but it dropped. And that was early on in his innings. And, it was a very thin batting lineup after that with the hobbled punt and
Yep.
uh, Shardul and basically the tail enders after that. If they had gotten that wicket, there would be
Who
no complaint.
knows?
They probably would have won, and who knows?
Yep.
So that's their fault. They have nobody else but to blame. They have nobody else to blame but themselves. But in typical English fashion, it always has to be somebody else's fault. So,
Well said, bro. Well said. Honestly, that was probably one of the best 5 to 7 minutes of the podcast we've ever done because we were actually so angry that that happened. And I'm glad we got all that off our chest. Without further ado, let's get to the fifth test. I'm set up here for this because let's set the stage here. The series is 2-1, but we won the last series at home. So we have retained the Anderson Tendulkar Trophy. So all to play for in the fifth test. If we win the test, we draw the series, which is a great accomplishment for all, considering all our history in England. That's a great accomplishment. We would also retain the trophy. And, all the bad blood and all of the tenacity of this series, for it to end in a 2-2 fashion would be incredibly satisfying. If we lose, then it's actually a really big, hurtful loss because it's the same situation that happened in Australia where we went into the fifth test down 2-1. We're like, same thing. If we even the series out, it's a great accomplishment. But 3-1 looks bad. And that fifth test in Australia really did hurt, where Bumrah got hurt. Kohli looked dejected as the stand-in captain. And that was emotionally like hard to recover from. That'll be the same thing here. So this series is really on a knife's edge. I can't be more excited for the fifth test. What say you?
Yep, same here. Everything's on the line. Simple as that. Where the key is just to carry that momentum that we got from those last 2 days or so, and then carry it over into the fifth test. It's a short turnaround and everything to play for, and no Boomerang for this test, but as we talked about, aside from the podcast, the one test we won was without him, and he was looking a little bit limited in terms of just pure pace and not quite as effective. It, during the latter part of England's innings in the fourth test. And so it's just one of those things where 2-2, like you said, looks a lot better than 3-1. And if it ends in 3-1, depending on how the last test goes, if it comes to that, the whole focus will be on that third test in Lords, where it was right there for the taking. All you had
Yeah,
to do was chase 190, and really all you needed was one good partnership, and you couldn't get that. And the unlucky played on wicket with Siraj at the end just to come up 24 runs short, I believe it was. So that'll pretty much in the end come back to haunt us. But if we win this test, then all that goes away, and relative to expectations going into the series, it's a huge accomplishment. It would be even with a 2-2 draw, it would be a huge win for us and
I
our
agree.
morale as a young team going forward, having more success with that result in England than usual. So this test, because of what happened in the fourth test and how the series has gone overall, will truly sway the narrative one way or the other drastically in terms of how this series, the Pardawdi or Anderson Tendulkar Trophy, is viewed in 2025.
Absolutely right. And I totally forgot in the setting of the stage part. We don't have to spend so much time on this, but dude, what did you make of this pitch controversy with this curator at the Oval and Gautam Gambhir?
Yep. So I would say I'm 98 to 99% on Gautam Gambhir's side. I do think he was out of line by talking to the groundskeeper. Oh, you're just a groundskeeper, nothing more than that. That was a little bit too much.
Agreed.
Um, but everything else, us standing our ground, where we deserve the same practice conditions that the English do, and things like that. I think he was well within his right to do that, and that the groundskeeper was in that way uh, making it a big being a thorn on our side for no reason, by not getting too close to the pitch or whatever it was, and not being able to practice in a certain area here or there when he wasn't doing that when the English were trying to practice there before
Yeah.
the test. So I would say overall, I'm besides that one comment, I fully stand with Gambhir and that you have to fight fire with fire, and that you know once again, even though it wasn't the England team this time, I would say overall the groundskeeper was just being annoying and was wrong.
I agree with almost everything you said. The comments that Gambhir made, he shouldn't have made. I think we can all agree with that. They no matter how much of a thorn the groundskeeper was, the groundsman was in our side, no matter how like annoying he was about the 2.5 meter rule, Gambhir shouldn't have said what he said. Because that is over the top. I mean, that's like out of the line of cricket and, a personal attack. So that we can agree on. After that, I agree with you that why can't we get closer than 2.5 meters to the pitch when how many ever hours ago, or I think it was the day before, there's literally video evidence or picture evidence of McCullum and that groundsman standing on the pitch. Where's your 2.5 meters then? Like, I don't understand. Rule for India, rule for Gambhir, stay away from this 2.5 meter radius, but England, anything goes. Because it's a part of the game. Like, you do have to get close to the pitch to see what the conditions are going to be. It affects team selection. It affects, like, your outlook for the test. Like, it affects your preparation. So many things. So I don't understand why they were being so annoying about it, but it just kind of goes in line with the annoyingness of this tour. At every turn since the third test, something has come up from the English team, English former players, Jonathan Trott making some weird comments, and the groundskeeper. So I think that overall it doesn't matter. I think our dad said this like in our group test, like it doesn't actually matter to the result of the fit test, but it certainly adds spice and it certainly adds like even more of desire to try to even up the series. So let's get right to it and let's pick our team here. This looks quite empty as an 11. And let's go through it here. Part of it is because of injury from the last test. Part of it is because of performance. The openers don't change. Are you sticking with Sai Sudarshan at number three?
Yes, I
Me
am.
too. Me too. I don't think it's fair that he gets only one test here, one test there. So I think that he will be full of confidence after his first half century. I know he got a golden duck in the second innings, but I think he showed a lot of promise, and I think he's very young and should be backed. Um, let's move on to Gill at four. Obviously, that's a lock. Punt is injured, so you're bringing in, I'm assuming, Dhruv Jurel.
Yep.
Me too. And he'll be our wicket keeper. Jadeja stays, Sundar stays, and here's where it gets interesting. So we already have two spinners. Siraj is playing. So we have one fast bowler, two spinners. We need to pick three other bowlers. We also need to try to extend the batting as much as possible. Some people have said play Kuldeep Yadav to strengthen the bowling. Other people have said stick with Shardul to strengthen the batting. So who are you putting in at number eight?
Yeah, this is tricky. I mean, the Kuldeep situation is tricky because he really can be effective as a spinner, but there are already two spinners and he just doesn't provide much with the bat. So I think I would personally keep it basic and I would go with Shadl, extend that batting lineup, that depth a little bit more. And he can provide a little bit of bowling, even if it's not great, and if it's inconsistent. But he's at least, I would say, more of a threat relatively with the ball than Kuldeep is with the bat. And I think what he provides for this team in this situation is more valuable. So I would stick with Shadl.
Reluctantly, I agree because I think Shardul has had a pretty bad series, and with the ball, he's been like almost non-existent. But I don't think you can play three spinners in England. I don't. I came into the series saying don't play two spinners in England, but when Jadeja and Sundar are in the side as all rounders and they just came off hundreds, obviously you can get away with playing two spinners. You can even justify playing three spinners when the other two spinners are literally
Taken.
centurions in the last test. But I can't see it. I can't see three spinners in England even though Kuldeep is supremely talented. So I agree with Shardul. And then besides Siraj, who will bat up the order now because
Yeah.
Boomer is not there. I do care about that.
Yeah.
Who are your other two fast bowlers?
So yeah,
Assuming everyone's fit, which I heard is the case.
okay. Yep. I had heard Gautam Gambhir say the same thing. So yeah, I would say, hmm, I would say Akash Deep and maybe Arshdeep. Maybe Arshdeep. I
Yeah, I
don't know.
think
That one, it's. I mean, it's either obviously Arshdeep or Prasid. I don't know if I have a strong opinion either way. So if you said Prasid, I could see that too. But I would say definitely Akash Deep if he's fit, and then roll the dice between those other two.
I think my 11 is in total agreement with you. The the time has come for Arshdeep because I think they were not impressed by Prasid at all in the first two tests. I think he really struggled. And then they went so far as to play a brand new debutant that they brought in from India in
Yeah.
Cambodia last test. He didn't impress. And Arshdeep would have played the last test if he was fit. So now that Cambodia didn't impress, I think it's time for Arshdeep. I think left-hander can offer you a different angle if nothing else, the left armor can create rough on the other side for the spinners later in the test match to bowl at instead of all right-handers. So I agree that this is the 11, and Akashdeep at 9 is decent batting depth. He carries a reputation for being a much better batter than Siraj, Arshdeep, or Bumrah for that matter. So here is our 11. One point that I want to make is that if Nitish Kumar Reddy is fit, obviously I think he should come in for Shardul, but I don't think is fit. So I'm gonna throw that one caveat in there. Other than that, here's our 11. Let's move on to England's. 1 through 9 probably going to stay the same, but they're saying that Archer will not play 3 tests in a row. And Liam Dawson bowled like 95 overs in the third innings, and or was it there? Yeah, third innings, and didn't pick up a wicket. So, who do you think will come in for Archer? I think it's going to be Josh Tongue, but it also could be Gus Atkinson. And do you think they'll stick with Liam Dawson?
Yeah, I think they'll stick with Liam Dawson, and then I would say probably Gus Atkinson. I don't know what the update was, but they were saying there was a possibility Mark Wood could be in the picture. Is he not in the picture at all, or is he not?
Uh
Because if I feel
I
like if he was fit, then that would be interesting, and I feel like he would probably slide into the playing 11. But if he's not, obviously, probably Gus Atkinson.
I think Mark Wood is getting fitter, but I don't think they're going to rush him back for this test. I think that
Okay.
um, I don't think he's there yet. And this is what I heard Nasser Hussain say at some point on the broadcast also. So I think it's just a 2 horse race, Gus Atkinson or Tongue.
Okay.
I agree. Gus Atkinson would have played the whole series really if he was fit earlier. So I think he walks back in if they're planning on resting Jofra. Kars has been good in patches. Wokes has been good in patches with the ball. Gus Atkinson, I think, is the preferred kind of second string bowler there. Dawson wasn't very threatening with the ball, but did offer something with the bat and just the one test for him. So I think they stick with him. I don't think we need to beat the rest of this lineup to death. We know about their batting. We know about the strength of their batting. We know about the relative weakness of their bowling. Let's hope that we can continue to score runs and somehow get them out cheaply in the fifth test. Let's move on to some updated stats here before we get to the predictions. Very, very despite being whiny, outstanding performance by Ben Stokes, man of the match. He's up to 17 wickets for the series after his performance in the fourth test. Great average of 25. Boomerang still holding us steady at 14, so is Siraj. And, after that, the bowlers have really struggled. Akashdeep and Tung, only 2 matches, they picked up 11 wickets. And so it tells you that, Akashdeep picked up 10 in 1 match. So besides that, he's really had almost no impact on the series. Same with Josh Tongue, who was dropped despite picking up 11 wickets, and the majority of them were against tail enders. If you look at the most runs, we clean house again. Gill is up to 722. Gail Rahul, shout out to him. Up to 511 runs, 64 average. Punt 479, Jadeja 454, and James Smith 424. So, we dominate the stats once again. Does this give you optimism for the fifth test?
Yes, I think it does. I mean, I'm just fixated on that 113 average for Jadeja. That's pretty ridiculous. I mean, he had been consistent the whole series, had a bunch of 50s, and then was finally able to get the century this past test. Gill, obviously being the run machine that he is, and I don't know where he is in the watch. I think he passed
Let's
Gavaskar,
get there.
still
Let,
like $200, 200 runs or so behind Bradman, and I'm not sure where he stands in those
let,
other
well,
categories. But yeah,
let's go right to it then. Let's go to the Subman Gill watch. He's up to 722 for the series.
okay.
Gavaskar was 774. So he needs, assuming he bats both innings in the fifth test, 55 runs to pass Gavaskar. But you always make this point. Gill did it with a 5 test series. Gavaskar did it in a 4 test series. So that does need to be mentioned that
Yeah.
he had 1 extra test. So technically, he didn't catch Gavaskar because this is the end of the 4 test. As far as Bradman did do it in a 5 test series. He needs still a lot of runs. He needs 263 runs to, I'm sorry, 253 runs to go ahead of Bradman. So I don't see that happening, but I do think he can catch Gavaskar given 1 extra test.
Yeah, that's. I mean, trying to look through. Oh yeah, no. Okay. So yeah, I mean, yeah. Also, yeah, it's just yeah with the Galarska thing, different eras. I was trying to see if it was those bowlers from the fearsome foursome of the '70s, but I don't see those names here. But still, I mean, just yeah, different era, four test series, like you were saying, no helmets, etc. So I mean, still very impressive. What obviously Gavaskar accomplished and what Gill is accomplishing, but overall those numbers are amazing and those numbers make me feel good. So we just have to put it in action for one more test and get the win. Where I think especially Akashdeep coming back since he's fit, he took over in the match that he won with those 10 wickets that you were talking about, so he could be that boost to fill in for an injured Boomerang. And we'll see what Arshdeep has to offer. Like you said, especially that was a good point you brought up with him being a left-handed pacer, um, creating a different angle, helping out the spinners who have already done well with the bat, Sundar and Jadeja, as well as the ball. They each took a couple of wickets in the last couple of tests. So they do make me feel good, but obviously don't want to get too ahead of myself. And so we just got one test for all the marbles, and we just got to make it happen.
Is there? Speaking of making it happen, I saved some face with I predicted India to win the fourth test, but we drew. So I was about to be 0 for 4 if that test headed the way that we thought it was going to head through three matches. But my serious prediction is looking golden. So I don't think it's any surprise. I'm picking with India to win this match, and to make my prediction correct of 2-2. I don't know, man. I just feel good about the way the last 2 days went, the momentum, like you said, despite no Pant, no Bumrah, obviously no Rohit, no Kohli, no Nitish Kumar Reddy. It's next man up mentality. Siraj without Bumrah is a different beast as the leader of the attack. And I think that, we have like a united front based off of what happened late in the fourth test, and we're galvanized. And I think that we can win this fifth test, and I think we will win this fifth test to even it up. What say you?
Yeah, I think my yeah prediction. I guess total. I believe it was 3-2. I'd said.
Yep.
So that's out of the window. But I will obviously at this point take 2-2. Should have been right about the third test, but both should have been right. But it is what it is. But I think maybe just by default of what I predicted before, but because I do feel it with the energy from the last 2 days of this past test, with the numbers, ironically, context or no context with Bumrah, without Bumrah. And maybe I think the key is I'm pretty sure every team who's batted first um, has either won or drawn the series, and every team who's batted second has lost or drawn it, or hasn't gotten the result they've wanted. And so, given the circumstances, so I think we win a very tight, close test match, and I think we get it done, even the series up at 2-2, and retake the Nuker Anderson Trophy. So. I think I don't have full confidence, I'll admit, on my part with my prediction, but I have enough confidence, 60-40, that we're just going to find a way, next man up, win this test match.
I think you're spot on. I mean, the way the series has gone, it's been so nip and tuck that I don't think anybody can go into the fifth test feeling like 75-25, like, oh, we're so confident that we're going to win this test, especially with the rash of injuries to a lot of our best players. But the fact that Archer may not play and it might weaken their already weakened bowling attack, um, makes me very optimistic that we can score big again. Then it's the question of the 20 wickets thing, which, let's be honest, if the pitch is as flat as Old Trafford, nobody's taking 20 wickets. And I would take 2-1 with another draw if it came to that. Um, I think the bowling could have been better by us, even in the fourth test when the ball was doing stuff. So that's what I'm hoping for in this fifth test, that our bowlers will be spot on, come to the party, and we'll be able to take 20 wickets somehow. That's where my 40% of doubt comes from. That are we going to be able to pick up 20 wickets? Go ahead.
Yep, yeah, and I think to add on to that point, I think part of the problem, what created the we can only draw in this match as opposed to win, was when the conditions were still, the ball was still moving, low bounce or inconsistent bounce. When England was batting, especially at the beginning with Duckett and Frawley, we just didn't take advantage enough. A lot of deliveries on the leg side, a lot of loose deliveries overall by every bowler really, including Siraj, including Bumrah, and Sundar, as we talked about, was brought on too late. He was
Yeah,
able to make an impact, but obviously with damage, a lot of it had already been done. And so I think if we can just do a better job maintaining consistent line and length throughout the series or throughout this test match, like we didn't do when England was batting last test match, that in a lot of ways helped Ben Stokes and Rube go for a million runs, would seem like. I think we'll shape up better for minimum a draw and ideally 20 wickets, and then with good complementary batting in a win.
bro, I am fired up after this episode for the fifth test. We will catch you guys on the flip side for the post-match reaction. Deepak, thank you as always. Jay
Absolutely.
Hind, let's get this win. We'll talk to you guys in about 6 days.
Absolutely. Jay Hind, let's get it.
Peace, bro.
Peace, bro.